let's take a look at this, guys. We might not get another good MMO. Okay.
I've been on this spree of trying basically every major MMO recently.
Oh, that's cool.
And it got me thinking, and I might be the first one to ever have this thought, but I don't think we're getting another good MMO for a while.
Yeah.
Other games that come out, they follow a very similar life cycle. A big mountain slope. You start out at the top, everyone's talking about the game, and it kind of just slopes down and loses its player base over time. I mean, it's a typical life cycle for a game, very natural. MMORPGs, on the other hand, follow a very different looking life cycle. They come in all shapes and sizes. They might start out with a bang, they might start out at the bottom and work their way up. But
wait,
basically,
what? Holy crap, Final Fantasy really has just been slowly booming though. That's actually kind of impressive.
the way you know if an MMO is good and it had any sort of success, long term, over the span of many years, it kind of looks like a real fucked up EKG. Like it's the game's pulse or something. Never healthy or stable, but it's there, which is what counts. It's been quite a while since we've seen a real banger of an MMO. It kind of feels like the MMO industry has always just been this game of king of the hill, and the ones at the top have ascended so high that there's really no catching up to them. It's really hard to imagine them being dethroned, and there's not going to be many that try. Because not only is developing a massive multiplayer online role-playing game one of the hardest things you can do as a video game developer, but it's also probably the dumbest thing you can do. We can't go into something like that until I tell you about something that someone's going to pay me to tell you about.
Oh.
So.
I mean, it is true though, man, and it's so difficult with MMOs, man, because you want people to care about the world, right? And everybody that already plays MMOs are so freaking invested already into WoW. We have Nico FTC, there's 27 in the chat. He's leveled like over 50 characters in Wrath. Like, try to tell him to try to get into a new MMO, right? He's gonna be like, no, I got my 50 characters that I'm raiding on every single week. How am I gonna ever have time for anything else, right? It's just people get so invested into that. So whenever there's a new MMO coming out, they like compare it to something else that they've already played, and it's like, oh well, it's not as good as this, right? Everybody always says, like, you know, the Riot MMO, that's gonna be the next big thing. And that might have big potential because they have the world that people care about already, right? They have the you know, the whole Riot world, and, you know, Runeterra, I think it's called. But that's probably many years before it even, you know, gets out in some sort of capacity. But it's just difficult to have people care about a world like that, and it's important for an MMO, right? Baldur's Gate 3 was very successful, but that's not an MMO though.
2023 was full of health issues for me, which led to a lot of involuntary weight loss. It wasn't fun. So this year I've made it a priority to make sure that I'm getting everything I need for both mental and physical health. And AG1 is helping me do just that. It's got 75 different vitamins and minerals that supports body, brain, and gut health. Very important things to keep healthy. And one thing I love about it, it combats visible signs of aging, which is incredibly important for me as Jagex continues to release quest after quest, making it impossible to end my series. AG1 can also help boost focus and mental clarity, and I've always struggled with sustaining energy throughout the day, and after a while of taking AG1, I noticed that I was not clawing and scratching for caffeine throughout the day. I just put water into the little bottle here. I do 8 ounces of water because it actually tastes good. I don't need to water it down at all. I shake it up a bunch, like get my cardio in for the day, and I drink it. It's a very easy process. As someone who's trying to be super mindful of nutrition and recovery, I highly recommend giving AG1 a try. You can try it for yourself by clicking the link in the description, and you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Big thank you to AG1 for sponsoring today's video.
Cool. I mean, not a bad sponsor.
The thing that got me thinking about this the most came from
is this the Riot stuff?
Situation that's been kind of brewing up over the last 3 years. In June 2021, Riot Games put a post up on their website calling for any game developers that are wanting to enter the world of MMORPGs with them. And this was amazing news because it's pretty common knowledge at this point that Riot Games tends to not miss. The things they've been making, pretty good with the MMO.
They made bangers, okay? Like Riot Games, they know how to make banger games. We can all agree on that, I think.
Community was welcoming them with open arms. If you've kept up with the MMO world in the last
Valorant, I mean, yeah, Valorant, you can like it or not like it, right? But they got TFT, which is very popular. They also got League of Legends, obviously. and they, they're kind of popping off with that. Actual League MMO would be sick. I think it could be cool because of the history that Riot has with like being quite good at making games. I would say overall, whether you like League or not, but they also have a really interesting world that a lot of people clearly care about, which you can see by, the series Arcane doing so incredibly good. Like, people clearly care about the world of Runeterra, and that's a huge deal for MMOs.
4 years, you know that the community is kind of still waiting for that game to come along that's just going to change everything. There was no real official news released for the next 2 years. The only set-in-stone thing we got was that Greg Street, who was the producer of the project, was leaving the company pretty soon.
Didn't he? Yeah.
After he announced that he was launching his own company, making his own MMO. It was just very disappointing because he was extremely involved in the community and just had a lot of indicators that he really cared about this and was going to do his best to make it an actual game-changing, enjoyable MMO. Obviously hope for the best. But now about a year later, there's whispers and rumors that this Riot MMO might not even be happening, which honestly would be the least surprising thing I've heard in the last 3 hours. At least. Riot Games has set a huge bar for themselves, which has raised everybody's expectations for everything they ever make. I can't tell you in confidence whether or not this game's happening or not. What I can tell you without a doubt is that it has been a bumpy ride behind the scenes. And if you'd like to see what Riot is most likely fearing, if you look up New World's player count history...
I mean, this is just how games go, though, man. Like, imagine trying to enter the space of an MMOs with like a whole new like world that nobody knows anything about. That's where Riot has it like really, really on lockdown, right? I can't wait for my kids to play the start of the Riot MMO. Yeah.
And see how that unfolded. You can see just how risky it is to release an MMO in the modern era of...
Look at Lost Ark. Lost Ark did it fantastic, but I don't think Lost Ark... Wasn't the Lost Ark release, it was just a Western release, right? Like, it was like for the... because Lost Ark was really popular in Korea already, right? It was like an established game. It's not like it was a new game that suddenly came out, right? It was incredibly popular, I think, in Korea already. So it wasn't like a new thing that suddenly came out. Lost Ark is older than its MMO, than its NA version. Yeah, exactly.
Gaming. I've got around 760 hours.
Lost Ark is too predatory to really work that much in EU. It has a lot of very, very grindy, kind of pay-to-win mechanics from what I understand. I only played Lost Ark a little bit, so I don't know the in-depth of it, but I do know there's some incredibly ridiculous grindy things in it, which is insane, right? Korean MMOs Mabel story? Yeah.
Hours played on New World and was a part of the community during the rise and fall of it. And I also saw how quickly that new and refreshing ideas can completely drain the life out of a player base if done incorrectly. New World game design caught up with itself. Not really sure how long that game's gonna be up for. Probably some of the most fun I've had gaming during its peak. And I really wish things...
New World wasn't actually that bad. I didn't have a huge interest in it, but I remember I played it in the beta and it was quite decent. It just wasn't an MMO for me personally. I really enjoyed New World, but there wasn't really anything to work towards if you weren't part of a huge community. I can see that.
Were handled differently so that it wasn't in the condition it's in now. It was a good game with some crucial things wrong with it, ended up being the reason for its downfall. An MMO can only handle so many mistakes to the point where even a company that gets their funds from Amazon themselves can't really do anything for you anymore. So there's been some sprinkles of MMO here and there, a lot of underwhelming Kickstarter projects, some that are in a permanent early access phase, ones that scam hundreds of thousands of dollars somehow. But in the last like 5 years, I think New World and Lost Ark are the only two MMOs that can claim they've had any kind of success. I've never played Lost Ark before. I tried looking up some stuff to get some more insight about it, but just like any MMO you try to get information on, it's players that have hundreds or thousands of hours just complaining about things, not giving any real insight to the casual experience of the game. I
feel like that's just how Reddit is and like forums and stuff though. Let's be honest. New World's first few months were some of the best MMO experiences I've ever had. I didn't get to play it on launch. I think... What was I doing at New World launch? I think I was playing hardcore. I was like deep into hardcore stuff at that point. World of Warcraft, that is.
Can tell you is that it's nowhere near competing with the top dogs of the MMO world. So I
never really got to play much Guild Wars or... Actually, Out of all of these games, I pretty much only played WoW. Gosh. I have like 2 hours in OSRS. Never played Elder Scrolls. I played Final Fantasy maybe for 10 hours. Guild Wars 2, I think I have like a few hours in it, like 2-3 hours or so, and that's pretty much it. I heard a lot of people say that ESO is actually quite a good game too.
So between Riot's situation and New World's fumble, it got me thinking, why is this so hard?
Guild Wars is cool.
What is going on?
Chapter 1. How did we get here?
Making an MMO has to be the most irresponsible, stupidest idea you could ever go through with. In the last 10 years, there have been 20 MMOs notable enough to make the Wikipedia page. And
wait, how many of these do I even recognize? Alien, I don't know. New World, I know. Camelot Unchained, no. Lost Ark, I do. Boundless, nope. Shroud of the Avatar, no. Albion Online, I've heard of Albion, and I think I played it a little bit as well. Adventure Quest 3D, never played that. But I did play the RPG Adventure Quest. Maple Story, of course. Order Chaos Redemption. Skyforge, no. Aura Kingdom. BDO, obviously. Elder Scrolls Online. Fireworld, Toontown. I cannot believe Age of Conan is not on here. That actually pisses me off a little bit. Was it a great MMO? Absolutely not. But it was an interesting one.
All of those are still up and running. Obviously, there's been more than 20 MMOs.
Age of Conan, dude. That shit was fun for a week.
Released, but I'm just not counting the ones that Josh Strife Hayes finds buried in the deepest depths of the deep web.
Oh yeah.
That peaked at 23 concurrent players. They don't really count right now.
They all look the same. All these like, I'm not gonna say scuffed, but all these like old weird MMOs, they just all look the same, man. They have that like feel, you know? I wish I could play Wildstar again. I never played Wildstar. Age of Conan is from 2008. Oh.
It's definitely a dark age. Now, I would say when World of Warcraft went live in 2004, that is when the true golden age started. Some may say that when Ultima Online came out, it kind of changed the game. I don't really think an MMO golden age existed without WoW. It doesn't feel right to me. WoW did for MMOs what Fortnite did to Battle Royales. Because you may have noticed once Fortnite saw success in its little side game mode of Battle Royale that wasn't even what they wanted their players to try, caused about 55 to 100 others to emerge.
That's
Once
insane.
WoW showcased that you can build a long-term player base with as much success as it had, with as much money as it generated, not only with its initial launch in 2004, but with its expansions in 2007 and on, I mean, how do you not convince investors to let you try and build another WoW? So once this golden age started, much like the Battle Royale boom, we also got a few really, really good games to emerge alongside WoW. They're still here.
There it is! Age of Conan, dude. Holy, look at that bad boy right there. Yeah. I think out of all of these, I only played Age of Conan. I didn't try the other ones. No Warhammer Online. Yeah, I'm surprised that one isn't there either. I tried Warhammer Online too. City of Heroes was goated. And there was actually a lot of MMOs back then, right? Wizard 101, yeah.
Here, people playing them. We also got an overwhelming amount of stinkers. Some real stinkers that are not.
You played it? Dude, honestly, man, there's probably a lot of those games that are still really, really good, right?
Not around anymore. MMOs were peaking in the mid-2000s. It was the thing to do. It was the style of game that players wanted to play. Even the projects that saw short-term success but didn't really survive, some still to this day have community-backed projects, private servers, to keep the community alive. All these MMO games meant a lot to people. They proved to be this genre of game that you truly did become a part of. And even though the MMO scene was kind of slowing down in the late 2000s, early 2010s, games like Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic made their entry into the MMO scene and kind of picked up the stragglers that maybe weren't really happy with their games anymore or didn't really scratch the itch they wanted and were still able to give a lot of players their home base of a game. 2013 unknowingly became the grand finale of MMOs. It was the year of revival because in February we got old school RuneScape and in
so that... Okay.
August, we got Final Fantasy XIV, both of them existing for the sake of redemption. RuneScape's main game was at an all-time low. Final Fantasy's first MMO, like 3 or 4 years earlier, was a huge flop, so both these companies basically tried again. And now, 11 years later, it's safe to say that both of them did something right.
There's really, that is, OSRs is really popular, man. That is actually crazy.
Confirmed. Since then, there's been a few notable MMOs that have come out, and they did okay. Elder Scrolls Online, Albion Online, Black Desert Online. These games are online, in case you were wondering. Lost Ark, New World, but none of them really made the impact they were probably hoping for. It's almost as if all players interested in MMOs have kind of found their place and stayed there. It really is kind of like finding your home base, and that's just where you retreat back to at the end of the day. We're all kind of safe and cozy in our MMOs right now, kind of making the most of it. But even though the kings are up there on that hill, it doesn't mean they're resting up there comfortably. The wrong mistake could send them tumbling down at any moment. Those profitable, successful games up there, they got up there with blood, sweat, and dev tears. A lot of mostly dev tears. We now have
constant updates, man. Because, I mean, I guess if you're paying a subscription for a game, too, you want there to be constant updates as well, right? ESO is good to jump in once every now and again, but not to sit down and play consistently. Yeah, and I think that one of the problems, I guess, with MMOs is that people want this, like, MMO that they can constantly play with no downtime ever, right? And it's almost impossible to make a game like that, I suppose, and people have to care about it. And the thing with MMOs is as well is like you want to play whatever is popular, right? So what most people are playing is probably what most new people is want to try to go get into. It's like a snowball effect, right? We will get another good MMO, but in next gen games, I do think there is a chance for another MMO coming up and you know, I guess dethroning some of these here, but I don't know. I feel like the only thing I can really think of would be the Riot MMO, right? But I don't know when that even would come out, if anything.
I have insight to another reason of why creating an MMO is a really dumb idea. Money.
Chapter 2, money.
Microtransactions have played a significant role in keeping these games alive. They've got to pay a staff to maintain and update and create for the game so that they keep their players there. They've got to pay for these massive servers. I don't even know how much those things cost. And also making sure that they meet the quota so that the very top executive owner of the company gets the salary that they've written.
Hey man, and all we gotta do in WoW chat, make a store mount. Yep. You make a cool little store mount, dude. Put it up for 20 bucks. Millions.
For themselves.
Question, is Jagex milking their players?
Well, yeah, it's quite a big question.
And whatever they need to do.
That is a very funny way of saying yes. Yes, we are. That's a funny question.
To get there is what they gotta do. Subscriptions by themselves cannot sustain an MMO. It could pay for WoW in 2007 when everybody was paying a $15 a month subscription on top of buying a $40 expansion every other year. But even that caught up. They have a shit ton of microtransactions, and obviously that's more of a problem for the MMOs that make it big and they have all of these expenses. But any game that sees this big success is going to eventually run into this problem of how do we afford to keep this going. Back at my home base, I give Jagex a lot of money every year through subscriptions. I pay for my subscriptions on multiple accounts, as do other people. And Jagex makes millions off of players giving them monthly subscription money. But you may have noticed while we're over here frolicking in our flowers of polls and community involvement and fun, our brothers and sisters over at RuneScape 3 cannot say the same.
Is Jagex actually this oblivious? We're in a time where RuneScape, at least according to the majority of the vocal player base, feels like it's being neglected, and as someone who's been covering the news and following the game actively for years now, I also think it's being neglected. How does a company with hundreds of employees and, according to the most recently released financial statements, £137 million in revenue, have the audacity to recolor a 3-year-old outfit and sell it as part of some kind of limited edition pack?
RuneScape 3.
And the crazy thing is, people buy it. That's what it is. Especially if it's like a limited edition or like a get it or you know, you gotta miss out. People buy it. What was it? There was like that mount or like that pet. I think it was a mount that was released that got announced that it actually made more money than the entirety of the StarCraft 2. Like a mount in retail World of Warcraft that was sold for $20 made more than StarCraft 2 in its entirety. That's insane. It was the first store mount? Yeah, probably. As a 20-year-old WoW veteran, the only situation that would be me trying another MMO for more than an hour would be my WoW community deciding en masse to ditch WoW in favor for an alternative. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are similar. People have their, what is the word for that? It's like a comfort zone. You know, if you play World of Warcraft is your comfort zone. And if you go into other MMOs, you're like, oh, dude, this is so uncomfortable, man. Like, this is not how it works in WoW. This is not how you know, it is back at home, you know, and you want to go back to where you belong in a way, right? So it can be difficult for MMO players to go outside that. I've invested so much in RuneScape and WoW that I'm afraid to invest time into something unknown and not like it if it gets shut down like WildStar. I can understand that. And that's why it's really difficult getting an MMO up and running like that, right? You know? With artificial intelligence will be another generation not talking about graphics. What?
Has been contaminated with regularly updated, toxic cash-grabbing microtransactions. It's experiencing increments of worse. Players just begging the devs to please stop, as if the devs have any control over it. RuneScape 3 is the soldier spreading its arms, protecting us from projectiles while we...
shit, man. Battle Pass, Treasure Hunter Keys, Rune Coins. This is RuneScape 3. And then they're protecting the little baby that's OSRS, man. Oh no.
Sleep soundly, telling the devs that we're not fond of this idea they think they're having. But what I'm trying to say is that even old school RuneScape, as one of the most populated MMORPGs in modern gaming, only exists because RuneScape 3 offers microtransactions. Because what you've spent on old school RuneScape membership subscriptions in the last 6 years, 10 people spent that same amount yesterday on RuneScape 3 keys. Those are the...
Yep, dude, that's the thing, man. Subscriptions, yeah, I mean, they can pay for the servers, but the real money are the whales. The big whales that buy the, you know, they buy the MTX, they buy the like WoW tokens, not game tokens, you know, that's where the real money is, man. Yeah, it's the same with retail versus classic WoW. It is. Yeah, one person paying for a 10-year subscription, I don't know, is like, I mean, not even one person, 100 people paying for a 10-year subscription is probably way less worth to Blizzard in terms of money than like one big whale that just buys everything, right?
Players
the boost in Classic, yeah, they added boost in Classic, and you know, people are buying it, and they're making a lot of money.
Needs, not you, not me. MMOs are expensive to make and they're expensive to maintain. Which, by the way, whoever over at Amazon Games thought that a one-time purchase of a $40 game was going to be enough to sustain a huge MMO. What are you doing? What did you think was going to happen? And then who decided that microtransactions were going to be your next alternative? And this is what you have in the store.
It looks so bad. What even is that? Cast out evil with fury and righteous light. That doesn't even look cool. Dude, listen, the meta is to make all the bare bone gear look really underwhelming, and then you release some like microtransaction piece of gear that just looks so insane. It just looks so much better than everything else. So people are almost forced to buy it. You know? Like Diablo 4 did? Yeah. I mean, that's the lore, right? That's pretty much it. You just make it so much cooler. PoE does that quite well, but to be fair to PoE though, right? PoE is a complete free-to-play game, and then the MTX, like the transmog that you buy, does look a lot more cooler, but it's just transmog, right? I don't really think the way that the PoE does it is like a bad thing. You know, the only pay-to-win thing you could really say about PoE is the stash, right? You have to pay something for the stash. But it's a free-to-play game anyway, right? I think that's completely fair.
They practically begged to not make money.
What's fucking cracking, baby?
Oh, bump. Chapter 3. A player base. Yep.
The biggest problem that new MMOs are going to face are getting a true player base. Not the players that are there on day one seeing how long they can wait in a queue. Not even the ones that invest 200 hours and experience a little bit of endgame. I'm talking about the true player base. The player base that if your game shuts down, they will be on the front lines doing whatever they can to create their own version of your game, some sort of backup code to keep the community alive. Those are the players that you're looking for. They're there because they love the game. They're there for real. And those are going to be extremely difficult to get because chances are they already have that game. They're already a part of that community. And most of them aren't going to be feeling that way about multiple MMOs.
Yeah, they have their one game that they love, man. Just their one game that's the one they stay, they stay comfy with, and they don't want to go. They don't want to go outside that, right? That ain't gonna happen in 20 years. That's gonna be incredibly difficult. Yeah.
At this point, new MMOs have to pull their player base from other MMOs. You're gonna be trying to pull players from WoW and from Final Fantasy and from RuneScape and Guild Wars 2. The players that already know what they like and dislike about massive multiplayer online games, which means that by default, a new MMO is immediately competing with the top of that hill. Could you imagine trying to enter that space and these are the guys you're standing next to trying to gain their players? Good luck.
It's so difficult, man, because I think I would never want to try another MMO just by myself. It would always have to be with friends, right? And then they would always, they would quit to go back to WoW again and stuff like that. It's just incredibly hard, right? WoW is the biggest. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
The best kind of player base to get for a brand new MMO is a new MMO player. Ones that haven't experienced the other ones yet, and you're going to be their first experience, which would mean trying to appeal to the iPad babies, the TikTok brains, the fucking Fortnite wars.
Is this a Fortnite streamer? Wait. What the? I think MMOs are just okay, and this might sound rough, okay, and be a tough reality to a lot of people, but MMOs are just for the older generation for the most part, okay? And I'm kind of a part of that generation, guys. It is what it is. It's a laid-back, more chill experience. It's not it's difficult to get new young kids into MMOs. It really is. It's a very, very slow game compared to what kids these days are used to, right? That's how it goes. We grew up with it, yeah. I don't know. But again, and I'm like a copium-filled Andy at this point talking about this, right? But Riot does have very high potential to actually pop off into the MMO world, because a lot of people that are into Riot Games and all that stuff may not actually be into MMOs, but they're into Riot and they're into Runeterra and stuff like that, right? So it has a lot of people that care about that, which might have big potential.
Owners. The ones that can't even hold their attention to short form content unless there is a video below the main content that has some car surfing on ramps so that their weird brains allow them to stay there. Dude,
you have a game on one monitor, then you have a YouTube video playing on another monitor, and you have your phone down here texting with your friends. Oh my gosh.
Drop a 14-year-old into vanilla WoW Northshire and see how long it takes for their brains to start freaking out because there's not enough colors and numbers. The generation following us is not gonna really be interested in this slower-paced MMO style that we fell in love with. Why would they run around Elwyn Forest or go kill goblins in Lumbridge when in that same time frame they could have had 3 adrenaline-pumping Warzone games to...
What the fuck? He's like 7! Dude, tell that guy to go play some World of Warcraft, man. There's no shot. What the heck? I'm offered.
To feel dopamine from. They don't chase the same numbers going up that we do. It makes me wonder if the generation following us, when they get to be our age, if they're going to be more interested in goal-oriented things like long-term MMO goals. I don't see new generations coming into MMOs, and I don't see current MMO players jumping to a new one when they've already established their community and love for one that they've been a part of for years.
I feel like a lot of MMO players enjoy trying out other MMOs, but there's one thing between playing it for a few days and having it as your new main game, right? Huge difference. I like dibble dabbling into other stuff, but I kind of always go back to what I'm used to, right? I think it's very interesting that Greg Street leaves the MMO project just before it gets delayed again and immediately announces a new studio that is apparently making a new, what sounds like WoW clone. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At this point, that's why the whole meme with the Riot MMO, right? It's never gonna get released, you know? And it's also just has too big expectations. So, what now?
I think the current games that we have in the MMO space are going to remain there, at least for as long as both the players and the devs have that desire. In order for an MMO to take the reins, become the next big thing, to really be the game changer, it's going to have to be very outside the box. Never
True. Edgarville, thank you for the 21 months. True.
done before, a big risk. Chances are the next MMO to really overtake these or even see equal success as these hasn't even been thought of yet. But I just have this strange feeling that the next MMO that comes out that has 6 classes to choose from, a woodcutting skill, and 2004-ass fetch quests is not going to be the one to see themselves at the top of that hill with those. It's just a hunch.
True. It would have to have something new we haven't seen before, right? Because this formula, I guess you could call the WoW formula, has already been solved. And these games that have like this kind of like vibe, if you just remake another game that has the exact same feel like those, people won't like it then.
I don't know. This Ashes of Creation game I've seen talked about for like the last...
Dude, this game, I think it's copium. Okay, this game is like Ashes of Copium. I swear, man. There is no way this game ends up being as hype and as fun and everything as people think it will be, man. I don't know. I played the alpha. I did play the alpha for Ashes of Creation. And obviously an alpha is very bare bones, but it reminded me of just kind of every other MMO I've played that was like free to play, and like, you know, it wasn't really, I don't know, believe it? I don't know. I do not have high expectations at all for Ashes of Creation. You know, if it actually comes out one day and turns out to be amazing, that's badass, awesome. But dude, I don't know.
Last 3 years is supposedly going to be the MMO that changes everything. They had this dev blog come out at the end of March, and I was like, okay, you know, this looks cool. And on the side of the screen, I see some quests about killing 20 goblins.
Yeah.
I'm like, no fucking way that this is the revolutionary thing. The next big MMO is not gonna have kill 20 goblins as a fucking quest, I promise.
To be fair though, I have seen some pretty dang stuff about like some of the environmental changes and stuff like that in Ashes of Creation, which does seem pretty cool, but I don't know if that's gonna be enough at all, right? I wouldn't say copium, but it's still early in development. I think it's not even a beta yet. Game is years from being completed. Fair point. Very, very fair point. Yeah.
Promise. They've already
I like
lost.
slay quests. Yeah, but it's difficult. That's what I mean. Like, it's difficult getting a new MMO to be popular and the next big thing when like people kind of already have that, you know, style of games sorted, and people have a game that they enjoy that is like that, right? Isn't that what WoW players always talk about? About wanting basic quests? Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I don't know what the move will be for a new MMO. I want more story quests. Monster Hunter MMO would be dope. It would be interesting to see like a more different take on your traditional MMO, right?
Lost in my eyes. There's no way, there's just no way another one of those is gonna be the one to be up there. No. There's a few things that I believe the next big MMO needs to do
killing 20 goblins. That's fair enough too.
Differently. I think the #1 priority is to come up with a structure that eliminates the locust swarm effect. Finish this as fast as possible. Get to max level as fast as possible. Get to the end game, the best in slot, the min-maxing as fast as possible. It's a real shitty habit that we've developed with video games, especially MMOs recently.
Who wants to do incursions, guys? Let's go. Get a group together for incursions. Let's go get to level 50. Oh, gosh.
I think it's played such a big role in the overall downfall of MMOs, why everything feels underwhelming now. Unfortunately, I think as long as a game structure exists that allows for that kind of mentality, it's not going to find the success that it would have found back when we weren't playing games like that in the golden age of MMOs, when things were actually enjoyed. That's why—
Yeah, people play games differently nowadays.
I've soiled.
That's great to hear. Thank you for the 13 months, poo-poo. We're kind of killing our own game quality. Yeah, I agree.
why we want to play games solo now. It's why you can get from level 1 to 70 playing by yourself in WoW. And that's not going to make for a successful MMO. You might as well just make a single player game. Other MMOs would benefit a lot by trying a more RuneScape style quest system, where it feels almost like a mission with a lot of benefits afterwards, rather than just the same generic copy-pasted coding of a quest of going and getting 10 mushrooms on a tree and bringing it back for XP. It's the reason
I have talked, again, I have never played OSRS. I played 2 hours, right? I talked a little bit with Snackybox, who is a big OSRS fan, and he actually says that the RuneScape quests are actually really, really good. Like, it's like genuinely, like, there's depth to them, and there's like good stories, there's like little plot twists, and there's good rewards from it too. I never played it, so I can't speak from it, but I've heard him talk about that a lot.
why a game like RuneScape,
They're like puzzles, okay.
which people have always poked fun at its graphics, feels more alive than a game with fucking Unreal Engine 5. It's the way it feels when you're a part of that world. And I think a lot of MMOs kind of look the other way when it comes to structuring things like that. They're too scared to try something else for progression. I don't know, they just play it too safe. The world has to feel alive, and everyone's end goal can't be the same. I'm not a game dev, I'm just a consumer. I complain. My role here is to complain. I'm not the guy. If I knew what this next MMO looked like, I would be trying to make it. I promise you I would. I don't think any current game devs have really wrapped their head around what it takes to bring an MMO to the next level, but I think with a lot of emerging game engines and technology we're capable of now, we're eventually going to see that thing that really makes our eyes widen and our mouths salivate.
Maybe.
It's gonna happen. Could be a year from now, 10 years from now. Our generation of MMO players, probably the only generation of MMO players, are going to be looking for that game, and we'll know it when we see it. But for now,
I do think MMO players are constantly searching for WoW players, the WoW killer or whatever the heck. It's like people want there to be a new game, but the game has just not come yet that, you know, it's gonna be the WoW killer. But it does seem like the community wants it. They want that new big thing, right? They can suck their teeth in and like really, really, really enjoy.
I think we're just gonna be cozy in the games that we play. For a more optimistic look, I think if RuneScape has taught me anything, other MMOs have really not experimented with shit. They have.
That is, sorry.
Has taught me anything.
Hold on. That was just a lot of players. Sorry, that is kind of, that is Goldshire peak hours, I guess.
MMOs have really not experimented with shit. They have not really opened up the sandbox of themselves. The fact that World of Warcraft just recently released a hardcore version after it took someone developing an entire plugin to do it just kind of shows how they haven't really tried shit yet. And the fact that they just tried a battle royale is even funnier. They're trying.
That is true. It is crazy how late they are with that kind of thing, man.
Fine, you know, we'll give it to them. Blizzard's trying. They might be 10 years too late to the battle royale boom we mentioned earlier, but they're trying, and we've got to give them that credit. Blizzard has done everything in their power to self-destruct, and they're still standing. It's incredible. If they're not going down by now, they're never going down, all right? That company's here to stay, which gives me confidence that other MMOs will be here to stay too. So we don't really have anything to worry about when it comes to our favorite games, our cozy home base being gone. And I think a lot of MMOs need to take advantage of this world that they've created and the different capabilities their engines have, and look and see how they can approach things differently, like RuneScape has with hardcore modes, Iron Man modes, and region locks with leagues, restricted game modes, challenges, people like watching challenges. And I think a lot of the big MMOs nowadays have the ability to implement something like that to keep their current active player bases occupied and entertained.
I think something that's really, really, really cool as well that Blizzard is trying lately is those like little game modes that they're doing, as he's talking about with Plunderstorm. There's the Mob remix coming out soon. We had Hardcore, Season of Discovery. There's like actually things that are like kind of seasonal, but like, you know, makes you intrigued and makes you interested, right? So I think that's really cool.
for a long time. And all that being said, I truly hope I look like an idiot a week from today when that next big thing is announced. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I think there's a future for MMOs, and we'll all be here for it. Anyway, I think that's all I got. I've been putting together the house video. It's just 5 days of a lot of footage. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. I also have a special project I can't really talk about right now, but I'm working on that beginning of May. Other than that, it's been a pleasure. Great seeing ya. Take it easy.
Yeah, interesting video. I mean, I don't know what would be the next WoW killer or next big MMO. Who the heck knows? Maybe it'll be Riot MMO 20 years from now. Maybe it'll be some new game we've never heard about that's gonna implement some crazy new stuff that we've never seen before in the WoWscape or like the MMOscape. It's hard to tell. Maybe WoW will actually like manage to like, you know, reinvent themselves and go actually really hard. Who knows?